My guest on today's Hard Talk from London is Italy's visiting Foreign Minister, Franco Frattini. Italy is currently a key player in the West's response to the conflict in Libya. NATO airstrikes are being launched from Italian air bases, and Italy is bearing the burden of a wave of refugees from North Africa. Until recently, Silvio Berlusconi and Muammar Gheddafi were bosom buddies. Just 7 months ago, Mr. Gheddafi was feted in Rome. But now, the Italians have formally recognized the Libyan rebels. So what does that say about Mr. Berlusconi's priorities and his methods? Franco Frattini, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Let's start with Libya. Do you accept that the anti-Gheddafi forces in Libya do not have the capacity to overthrow Mr. Gheddafi?
Well, we have to work hard in order to reverse that situation. I'm among those that even accept the idea of supplying arms, provided that a legal framework solution is found. We need a discussion about that. But frankly speaking, it will see the situation on the ground. We see now a disparity of forces at the advantage of Gheddafi's armies, which is not acceptable.
So to be clear about what you've just said, are you suggesting that the NATO forces should do whatever it takes to get rid of Gheddafi?
Except ground forces, Our objective was, and is still, protecting civilians. When I hear stories about Gheddafi's forces bombing pediatric hospitals, I'm terrified. Frankly speaking, NATO should be within the boundaries of the legal resolution 1973, but that said, in that limits, whatever is possible to do, they should do.
Yeah, but this is important and it's complex. To be clear, you are saying that the current resolution, 1973, allows NATO now to do whatever it takes, short of ground forces, to get rid of Gheddafi, which of course was not mentioned in the resolution itself.
Well, the resolution says very clear, protecting with all means civilians. And this is the source allowing to me a derogation to embargo of arms in favor of rebels.
There has been debate about that very subject.
There has been.
The United States and the British governments are not saying they will provide arms. You are
Italy
saying...
Italy too. That's why we are providing non-lethal means like telecommunication apparatus, something like that, but not arms. Why? Because there is no clarity about the legal framework, whether it allows or not, but I would suggest to have more clarity on that.
You want to see another UN resolution?
I think we can also find a solution not requiring a new resolution.
It just seems to me what you are saying to me today is entirely redefining what the international mission in Libya is supposed to be about. You've made it plain from the very first moments of this interview that as far as you are concerned, it's inconceivable that NATO military action will end until Gheddafi is gone.
Well, there is another option, that a ceasefire is agreed, it is verifiable by United Nations monitoring mission, and is broadly respected. This is the alternative. Unless a ceasefire is agreed, NATO mission should continue.
It has to be said you have struck the wrong tone before in this particular Libyan crisis, because a couple of weeks ago, you personally, and Mr. Berlusconi as well, seemed convinced that Gheddafi was interested in a peaceful departure. You talked about engineering with African nations a haven for Mr. Gheddafi. You appeared to believe that was possible. The message from Tripoli is Gaddafi's not interested.
Well, many other countries, including in Europe and including the United States, were ready to accept the idea of the exile of Gheddafi. The problem is that no countries offered to host Gheddafi so far. But I think a departure of Gheddafi towards a country ready to host him would be a possible solution.
Yeah, but Gheddafi doesn't want to go. In fact, his son, Saif al-Islam, told the BBC just the other day, we are not going. This is our country. It is absurd to talk about these different countries where we may go.
There is a difference between public statements and the reality of negotiations that probably will go on in that direction.
And your message is, I take it, that Mr. Gheddafi would therefore, if he took this option, be free from any international criminal court investigation, would be free from accountability and justice.
This is difficult to promise. I cannot do. I cannot promise impunity, absolutely.
Well, what's the point of Mr. Gheddafi even considering some sort of offer unless he is offered a real haven?
Well, if it will feel isolated, even from within the inner circle. At the end of the day, our challenge is to make it possible he leaves. This is the challenge. I'm not so sure we will be succeeding, but we have to do everything is possible.
Isn't the truth that what NATO has got itself into is a very big mess? NATO has simply ensured a stalemate in Libya.
We should avoid a stalemate.
Well, that's precisely what we have.
We have no stalemate. We have been saving human lives. So we are satisfied about results so far achieved. What we shouldn't do is to consolidate a status quo and Libya divided in two.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're satisfied because we know that civilians are still suffering in towns like Misrata. We also know that the NATO forces have killed rebel fighters as well as some of Gaddafi's forces. We also know that the Americans see stalemate. One commander of American forces, Carter Ham, has said there is very little likelihood at all of rebels fighting their way to Tripoli.
We have to compare cost and benefits. If we wouldn't have been ready to intervene rapidly, now we wouldn't be in the condition to discuss about the future of Libya. Now we are in the condition. So we saved a situation which was ready to precipitate.